ahead and share screen. I think you have to make me host again. So the results that you get that are going to be determined by the quality of the data that you have in there. So I would say, again, don't skip that step. It's not something that I would say that you just don't start doing anything before you go and start playing with it, start getting into it. As in so many things in analytics, sometimes you'll find where your inefficiencies are on the data side or your deficiencies are on the data side when you start actually creating reports and start doing something with it. But I would say, again, as you start really transforming what you're doing with this, that needs to be a part of what you're looking at. And then making sure that people trust the data you're doing, just like on any other analytics project. Make sure that it's being trusted, that you're giving them the answers needed, and that you're getting the right results from what you're trying to look at. All right, if I can make PowerPoint work again. I want to do another question. See if I can do this without. Let me go back and put question number 2. So hopefully everybody can see. So top blockers again, and I want to make sure that we're kind of clarifying this. Gen AI, and DSML, and all these things are something that have been around, but again, with the latest and greatest stuff coming out, it seems like people are becoming more and more immensely a part of this. So, but we still see a lot of people that are a little bit nervous to get too far into it or get started down the right path. And so I was curious, where you see some of the issues, data drift, cost involved in it, security policy, skills gap. I'll give everybody another minute or two, and then we'll share with everybody whatever the results are. All right. Okay, for time's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and end this, and I think I can share the results. Again, I see this a lot, and we see this a lot is, the input that we give back is skills gap. I want to again stress again, as you saw Ayden walking through that, the one thing he said as well, don't use the fact that you're not a data scientist, maybe you haven't gone to school for that, whatever, or that you haven't studied that to keep you from that. You do not have to be a data scientist. You have to understand what data sets you have. You have to be able to find the tools, understand how to use the tools enough to be able to get there, but it will help you along the way. Now, the more you know, the more you learn that, obviously, the more accurate you can get, the better you can get. But definitely don't let the fact that you're not a data scientist or have that background from an educational standpoint or wherever stop you. Get in there and start playing. But that is still the area we see as well. People mention skills gap being probably their biggest area that that keeps them from moving forward with it. So to kind of end this, go ahead.
I'll just interject there as for one more sort of reinforcing point that, again, everything in the DSML services was designed with the WebFOCUS BI user in mind. Or again, you can see even the way that you're interacting with the model training is done in a way that's familiar to anybody that's worked with the new data migrator interface or use that tool for statistical modeling. So 100% to echo what Tim said, it's built for the WebFOCUS analyst. It's built to be used by the WebFOCUS analyst.
Yep, completely. So kind of the next step that we see in this is, so now that I understand maybe how I can start playing with this, what do I actually start doing with it? Where does it make sense to start finding use cases that I want to solve with this? What insights do I want to be able to make available? What models that need to go with that? I've listed here, again, these are some of the top ones that we see from some of our conversations and the clients that we're working with. It's also something that we work a lot with our clients to be able to find ones that are meaningful to them. Obviously, this is a very, very small subset, and these are typically highly dependent on, what your business is, what your industry is, and the areas that you're wanting to measure. But you can see here a lot of them kind of go across that as well. Predictive maintenance bot. I mean, that goes for a lot of different areas, being able to have, and chatbots are getting more and more common and getting more and more accurate and easy to talk to. So being able to use that on a front end for someone who may not be trained but wants to be able to use that to understand where predictive maintenance issues may be within side of a warehouse building or whatever facilities, or they may have dynamic route optimization. Again, we see this a lot from transportation companies that we work with. How do we make sure that our stuff is getting moved around in the right way, the most efficient route? Same thing with asset allocation. One of the other cool ones from the transportation industry we've seen is, and this is not just them, but even for people who have equipment, is image-based QA and safety inspector, being able to have an image inspected by AI and give us answers to issues within that we need to be aware of. It's almost like a digital twin of it, but it's done from images where you can actually see issues with inside of the image that need to be looked at or examined. Price margin optimization. Of course, a lot of sales marketing teams are looking for how they make sure they get the right pricing based upon the data within the models they have, rather than just kind of coming up with it. You can see a lot of them in here. I won't go through all these. Areas that we see this most in within organizations, sales and marketing seems to be, because some of the use cases they're trying to solve, seems to be one of the first ones in it. And they also seem to be very impactful to the business. Same thing with customer services, especially when we look at chatbots and some of those things about how we're helping people do that. Supply chains, we talked about a couple of those already. IT engineering, finance and risk. Again, those are some of the ones we see the most. These types of use cases can apply, or the kind of types of use cases that are available can apply to any of these areas within your organization. It's just finding out the ones who are going to create the biggest impact for your business or the most impact for the people that you're trying to do it, and finding the right way to go about it. So again, so you've got all these options out there. There's a lot of different things you could start with. You could, as far as different use cases you'd want to solve. And I'm sure if you asked 5 different people within your organization, you probably get 20 different responses at least. So how do you actually kind of start steering that within your organization? What we have seen a lot lately, especially in the last year, these didn't start in the last year, but we've seen more and more of these come into conversations we've talked about, is AI or Gen AI steering committees. And again, Gen AI has sparked a lot of this, because AI has been around for years and years and years. But with the emergence of Gen AI and the ability to be able to enable plus guard against some of the factors there, a lot of these steering committees have come up and saying, how are we going to actually use this within our organization safely? Again, enabling, but also protecting ourselves from what matters here. So I would encourage you, more and more of the companies we talk to, especially large companies, but even mid-sized companies are really starting to go this route. If you haven't, you need some type of governing group that covers more than just the IT area. So IT is not the only one responsible for it, but from overall executive support to business level support, everybody involved in making sure that they are part of steering how Gen AI and AI is being used within your organization. For reasons, governance and trust, that is huge. Again, we talked about earlier the example of being able to just take data, put it into like a ChatGPT or Copilot or any of the other ones, and then have it spit out like some type of report for you, or even a proposal like we mentioned before. Being able to control how it's done, making sure that there's security guards around that to make sure you're not sharing your data outside of the organization that you don't want to, is key. So being able to go and have teams that actually look at that, set guardrails for that, strategic alignment. Again, making sure that everything that you're doing within these tools is aligned towards what you're trying to do as an organization. You want to enable people and give them the tools, but you want to make sure that they're not just tools that they're using, but they're tools that are driving value for the customers. Cross-team velocity, I will say again, we look back here, the different organizational areas, if you're looking at sales and marketing, some of the things that they are challenges that they have may be affected by supply chain logistics or different parts of the organization. So being able to really have those different business groups talk together can uncover a lot of that. And you can see some of that just in data as well, but having those teams truly talk is huge, and having a way to facilitate that. And we've gotten involved in a number of these to help be one of the facilitators, but to be the ones to help facilitate those conversations is big. And of course, board level support, this has got to be something that is supported from the very top of the organization, and enabled to all the people who need to be able to use it. So those are some of the things that the reasons why. Some of the purposes and pillars that you want to look at is data integrity. So this list is going to be different for every client. Again, this is another one of those kind of top 5 lists where, this is the top 5 we see, but every organization is probably going to have a few of these, plus a lot of them that are more geared towards their stuff. So data integrity, governance, risk, value, roadmap. For time's sake, I won't go into all these, but ops and cost, talent and adoption. Again, making sure that you're addressing all these different areas. And you can tell my mindset goes back to data a lot of times, integrity, because I really feel like that is a huge part of this. But each one of these things needs to be addressed as far as how you're doing it. You don't want it from a value roadmap. You don't want to be just taking on use cases to be taking on a use case because it seems like a cool one to do. You want one that's going to provide value for the organization. And hopefully you can kind of prioritize it and find start off at least with some of the big ones. Now, a lot of times people will start off with low hanging fruit because they know it's a really easy one to do. And it shows some value for the product. Nothing wrong with that, but I still would look at the different use cases that you want to be able to solve, the different types of things you want to do, and be able to rank and prioritize that. And we do a lot of work, Amtex, with customers, helping them be able to do that. So what is the playbook and why does it matter? I will say again, it is typically driven by some type of committee, whether that is the committees like we've been talking about, or Center of Excellence or Data Governance Group. I would just say that it needs to be driven by a bigger group than just IT. IT needs to be involved in this very prominently, but also needs to include executive management, business groups, the people who are using it as well. It is not a project plan. It's meant to be a playbook of repeatable and reusable guidelines to help in each one of these areas that you're really working in. And again, it says here's a living guide. Certainly it is made to be something that is always progressing and continues to evolve. Aligns data tech and people and risk before execution. Again, we get into all these things when we talk about AI and Gen AI and the models that we're creating. They still go down to what real people are doing on a day-to-day basis in their job. So making sure that we're aligning those things along with the risk involved in that is huge. Gives clear guardrails. We've talked about that a lot. I won't go into that, but again, that is one of the points is we want to enable while being able to keep what we need to be keep safe and secured and those type of things that need to be looked at in that. Provides executive road to ROI. Again, instead of AI lab experiments, I always laugh at that because again, and some of it start there just to be able to get used to using it. And a lot of stuff that Ayden showed you, you can go and start playing with data. But as you start to mature and start finding real use cases that you want to deploy throughout your organization, making sure you have that executive support for what that ROI is going to look like is huge. And then of course, turning this into a repeatable process.